Hello, and welcome to Mass Effect Minigames, Commander Shepard's favorite activities. Today, we are going to be diving into the 3 minigames in Mass Effect 2. These games are designed to allow the player to feel like they're really stepping into the shoes of Commander Shepard and taking on some of the more technical tasks that Shepard performs. Today's walkthrough is going to cover planet scanning, hacking, and bypassing. For each of these games, we'll briefly dive into what the minigame is, why it's important, and techniques and methods to best complete it. First off, let's dive right into planet scanning. Planet scanning was added in Mass Effect 2, serving as a replacement for Mass Effect 1's unpopular Mako gameplay. You are able to scan most planets in the galaxy when you enter their orbit. Planet scanning is a primary way that players obtain resources like Element Zero, Iridium, Platinum, and Palladium. These resources can then be used to purchase upgrades for the Normandy, your squad mates, and even Shepard themselves. Essentially, the minigame functions as the player moves a mineral scanner around the planet, holding down a button and observing the scanner results on the right-hand side of the screen here. The scanner results window provides 2 useful pieces of information. Number 1, the overall density of the materials on the planet, and number 2, the specific abundance of materials at the scanner's current location. The overall mineral density is certainly the most important information the screen provides. You should only be scanning rich worlds. Due to the large number of scanning opportunities in Mass Effect 2, you can obtain all your needed resources only by scanning rich worlds, and doing so will minimize the amount of time it takes to obtain maximum resources. Additionally, you don't need to worry too much about maximizing the peak on the right-hand side of the screen there, as your probes will always obtain the maximum amount of minerals despite whatever the spike shows. For example, if you have just a little bit of one and quite a bit of another, you'll obtain the maximum amount of both minerals rather than a proportional amount as shown on the side. The element that you're most likely to struggle with in planet scanning is Element Zero, or EZO, Mass Effect's magic material that makes everything from Mass Effect drives to biotics work. On the screen now is a list of Mass Effect 2's Element Zero rich planets. You can visit these planets to obtain all the Element Zero you'll need for the entire game. This list is provided courtesy of ScreenRant.com. And of course, this couldn't be a comprehensive detailing of planet scanning without this little Easter egg here on Sol's planet, Uranus.
Really, Commander?
EDI has quite the sense of humor.
Uranus.
Hacking, a quintessential science fiction activity. As popularized by tabletop RPGs like Cyberpunk, many digital RPGs do include a way for their characters to interface with the computers in the world to obtain information, unlock doors, or upload powerful viruses. Mass Effect 2's developer, BioWare, likely included this minigame to establish its cyberpunk science fiction roots and to allow players to roleplay a more technically savvy Commander Shepard. This minigame serves as an additional activity that players take on to obtain credits, resources, information, and access to additional areas in their environments. The core of the minigame revolves around 3 columns of code snippets that the player can select utilizing their movement keys, defaulting to WASD on the PC. On the top of the screen is the target code segment, and the goal of the game is to move the cursor to the matching code snippet of the code segment, and you must do this 3 times. There are a few challenges, however, to doing this. Number 1, the code is tiny. It can oftentimes be hard to read and compare blocks of code next to one another. Number 2, the player is timed. They must accurately and quickly seek out the corresponding code snippet within the allotted time, lest they fail the minigame. And number 3, there are red X's shown on the screen that have the potential to reset the player's progress by one code snippet. If the player's cursor is moved over the red X, the player must redo that code snippet. Some best practices to most easily complete this minigame include looking at the start of the code blocks to memorize the color and line length of the first few lines. Often, a block will have a distinctive look, like starting with a single green line or traveling diagonally from top left to the bottom right across the block. You can try to keep your cursor in the middle of the code snippets so that you're best able to dodge around the red X's and are statistically closer to a potential match. Finally, and this one is a big one, quick saving your game prior to starting. This can ensure that you don't get locked out of the potential rewards if you do fail the minigame. This is a small but easy way to minimize the frustration that could potentially be caused by this little game. And finally, we will now highlight Mass Effect 2's Memory Match 2 bypassing minigame. Narratively and functionally, this minigame serves a near identical purpose to the hacking minigame shown a moment ago, and it is oftentimes used interchangeably for opening doors, crates, obtaining resources, and the like. This game is essentially just a classic memory-based matching game. You highlight the mouse over each node, revealing its symbol. Once you identified a node's pair, you click on that node and guide the mouse over to its corresponding point. You must do this for each of the nodes within the allotted time limit, and then you've bypassed the system and completed the minigame. Some tips for best completing this minigame include 1. You can follow the circuit board line on the background from one node to another. However, in practice, the node lines oftentimes cross over one another or are quite small, making this tip less useful than it otherwise could be. Number 2, it can be advantageous to briefly mouse over all of the nodes and view them prior to beginning selection of any individual node. 3, as with the minigame above, quick saving is your friend to ensure that you always get that full reward even if you accidentally fail the minigame. And with that, you should have all the information you need to successfully complete planet scanning, hacking, and bypassing. Thank you very much, and have a good day.